This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America. Hopefully everybody had a happy Thanksgiving. It was a nice day of racing. We'll take a look at a couple of stakes from yesterday, but mostly this is an abbreviated edition of Racing Across America because there was an early post time at Aqueduct this afternoon. So we got a half an hour. We're going to be talking a lot of stakes action, and I thought since we have a special edition, we'd get a live guest in here. Brian Nadeau, horseplayernow.com. Good morning.
Hey, thanks, Seth. Thanks for having me in.
Did you have a good Thanksgiving?
Yeah, it was great. It was nice to be with the family. Always a good time.
And again, we've had Brian plenty of times on Fridays talking about weekend stakes, and I thought we'd get him in because he has relocated to the Saratoga area.
Yeah, back in town, back in Saratoga for the first time in about 6 or 7 years, I think. So it's good to be back.
Very good. And it's fun to get somebody in here for a live guest. It's not something we typically do. Brian also, as part of the Horseplayer Now team, and we have Jeremy Plonk in with us every Wednesday. We talk a little bit about the night school sessions, the online night school sessions that are done every Tuesday night when we have Jeremy in on Wednesdays. And we've talked with you via phone because you're one of the night school Horseplayer Now players that goes out to the big events, some of the big meets, and they set up the fan education night school tent at those events. And I'm just, your season is wound up as far as the tents. How did they go this season?
That was great. We got to see so many different tracks. We went to Keeneland. A lot of people. We had people at Del Mar. We did the Breeders' Cup. Obviously, the Preakness has been a huge success for us. So it's great to be at those different tracks, help a lot of people all across the country, new fans, people that have been in the game for years. So we kind of run the gamut a little bit, and it's a lot of fun.
And what has the response been? Because I was amazed a couple of years ago when you guys were up at Saratoga with the tent. Jeremy Plonk was saying he gave the facts and figures of the money that was put. There was a machine out in the tent. The money put through the machine and the return, and it was a positive return for the fans out in the tent. So I'm assuming the response has to be pretty good.
Yeah, they like to send it in out there. I mean, maybe they're following our lead, but it's been a lot of success, especially the tent, the Preakness. It's huge out there. You know how the infield is at Pimlico. So it's a lot of fun. I think we're doing a good job in that we're helping fans, getting fans to hopefully come back to the races, which I think is the biggest thing. Because as you know, handle makes this game, and that's really what it's all about.
Yeah, and it certainly is. I think those of us that are in the game tend to forget a lot of times. But the jargon tends to be a little arcane sometimes, and so if we can get people to kind of learn a little bit and take a couple of steps and maybe cash a couple of tickets, that makes a big difference.
Yeah, because it can be really overwhelming. Like you said, how to read a program and things like that. And if you've never done it before and it's the first time at the track, you can be overwhelmed and it turns into a bad experience. Yeah. So hopefully we're kind of there to help you out with that.
All right. And again, that's wrapped up for this season. Although the night school online sessions, there's still a couple more?
There's one more on Tuesday, so we're all going to be on there. We're going to have a little bit of a jump ball kind of thing where everybody we're going to talk about getting long shots home and things like that, looking for the big payday. So last night school is Tuesday at 8:30.
All right, very good. And I believe one of the tents was down at Maryland Millions Day?
Yeah, Jeremy and I were down there, just the two of us. We went down there. Mike Gathigan's great for us down at the Maryland Jockey Club, so we were down there for Maryland's Millions Day, and we saw Ben's Cat.
And that's why I
neat.
Brought it up.
They treat us really good down there, and we had a lot of fun.
Ben's Cat, and that day, Maryland's Millions Day, they were deciding between either the dirt sprint or the turf mile, and King Leatherbury decided the turf mile, and it turns out the mile was like 6 inches too long for the horse.
Yeah, I mean, he's a 5'6" furlong turf horse, and that's kind of what he does. He's not necessarily a two-turn horse. So, yeah, just a little bit too far. He got nailed on the line.
It really was just a little bit. Subsequently, however, he winds up running Wednesday night, a nice stakes card over Penn National. The weather held out so that they could go. Again, Ben's Cat, more of a turf sprinter, but his prior dirt start to Wednesday night, was last year's Fabulous Strike. He won that. Well, Ben's Cat comes back. The fan favorite Ben's Cat wins the Fabulous Strike on Wednesday night over Rebo Bobo. I was a little surprised the betting public made Rebo Bobo such an overwhelming favorite. Rebo Bobo went off at 4-5, Ben's Cat at 7-2, but it was Ben's Cat getting it done by half a length over Rio Bobo.
Yeah, he's shown a lot of versatility in his career, like you mentioned. He's predominantly a turf sprinter, but he's shown in the past he can run one turn on dirt too, and he's just a really neat horse. He's kind of that throwback horse that goes out every 3 or 4 weeks and just runs his heart out. And if it's good enough, it's good enough. He's kind of a closer. So it's too bad he never brought him out to the Breeders' Cup. You know, he needs to be supplemented to a race like that, which is a shame. He's a horse that deserves that kind of shot. But, you know, King's done well by the horse, and he dances every dance around the Mid-Atlantic. So
last year they flirted with the Breeders' Cup. But as you say, the supplement for a small outfit, that's a lot of
It is a lot of money, yeah. So it's tough. And probably that ship has sailed now, too, as he's getting a little older. But, you know, he's going to be around for a few more years, and it's always good to have a horse like Ben's Cat.
Just wanted to touch on, before we move on to some of the stakes action, I did want to touch on the Kentucky, the earliest ever Kentucky Derby future pool is underway. It opened on Wednesday. I pulled up the closing odds from yesterday, and no surprise, all others, the even money favorite. The shortest price, I'm just checking here, the shortest price among the 23, New Year's Day winds up at 14-1, and Honor Code 15-1. Shortest prices among the single entries. I said earlier, Brian, I'm only going to sniff a horse this early at about 50-1. Even then,
couldn't agree with you more. You said New Year's Day is 14-1. Maybe he's 12-1 to be in the race, much less win it. So, you know, if you want to just put a few bucks down, have something to root for over the winter, maybe that's a good idea. But as far as if you're betting some serious hard-earned money, it's not a bet to make, because there's just so much time between now and the first Saturday in May. And like you said, Seth, you've got to get 40 to 50 to 60-1 at least to get interested. Yeah, exactly.
Because I agree with you, and I've said that before. What are the odds they're just going to make it to the starting gate at this point? And that's going to be interesting. I'm going to go back when we get to Kentucky Derby Day and see how many horses in this first pool actually make it.
Especially now where earnings are out the window and it's a point system now, then it really, really overemphasizes the fact that these horses might not be around.
And interesting, obviously the pool this year, the rules have changed a little bit, significantly though. The past pools closed on Sunday. This year they've changed them. Not only this pool, but the pools next year as 3-year-olds will close prior to prep races going off. So this pool closes at either post time Saturday of the Remsen or the Kentucky Jockey Club. So you're not going to get the benefit of seeing the results of those races, which makes it a little bit interesting. So, but that means that there's another 24 hours or so from today, longer than that, about a day and a half of betting to go. But at this point, $115,000 in the pool, and it will be interesting to see what that ends up, because the first pool last year wound up with a handle of about $620,000. So at this point, it's a little light, but you would think most of the money will probably come in closer to post time anyway. But it's going to be interesting to see how it does shake out.
I agree. I'll give Churchill some credit for at least tweaking a system that really wasn't working, and I like that you mentioned the fact that the pool's going to close before post time of these races, so your opinion gets rewarded a little more. But I'd really love to see him open it up to 400 and 500 horses. You get Honor Code at 40-1 instead of 14-1.
Yeah, now all of a sudden.
Then it would really be great. And now, until they do that, it's tough to get too excited about that kind of bet.
Yeah, I agree. But it's going to be interesting to see how this one shakes out. And as I say, come Kentucky Derby time next year, I want to see how many of these make it into the actual starting gate of the Kentucky Derby. All right, let's take a look. Before we start looking at the stakes ahead, let's take a look at a couple of stakes that were run yesterday, Thanksgiving Day. Obviously, this is a holiday weekend that is salivated for racing fans. I said it for the last week and a half. The racing season does not put a bow on itself after the Breeders' Cup. Plenty of good racing, and that is evidenced by the weekend. We're going to look at some of the big stakes races coming up. But again, things kicked off yesterday. The Fall Highway, one of everyone's favorite stakes races, I think, with the weights given to the horses, a nice sprint stakes race. And here is the stretch run of yesterday's Fall Highway. It is going to be the number 5 Palace getting it done. Running second will be Strapping Groom, who kind of after that upset in the Forego had a couple of starts that didn't quite validate what we saw in the Forego. But yesterday, Strapping Groom ran okay. The disappointment in here may have been Cash Electronica running fourth, although the favorite, Sage Valley, at 2-1 runs fifth. But a pretty good effort from Palace, who is another one of the nice New York breds that are stepping out into open company this year and getting it done.
Yeah, and he's another one of the nice Linda Rice claims too, and especially going forward as we near the inner dirt season. She was kind of printed money last winter off the claim, and she's as sharp as they come in that she fits with David Jacobson and people like that over the winter. And Palace especially, she nabbed him from WinStar earlier in the year, and he's really turned into a viable now graded stakes performer. And like you said, it's nice to see a New York bred stepping out into some really big money now with the added purse structure and grabbing a grade 3.
Yeah, a nice claim. Not as nice as Cash Electronica.
Well, that's true too, and he's kind of under that Ben's Cat mold that you mentioned, that old war horse, and Todd and Mike Rapoli have done a great job with that horse. So it's a little sad that he couldn't defend his title, but I'm sure we'll see plenty more of him.
And again, I brought in we talked about that horse on Wednesday with John DeSilva, and I brought in the lifetime past performances going back to the $68,000 claim in 2011, Rapoli and Pletcher, and since then, Charlestown Classic. He's won $1.8 million, and the vast majority of that has been since the claim.
Yeah, and Todd's done a great job this year, especially spotting him around. He's eligible for that starter allowance condition that I think he's nixed off a couple times this year. And Todd knows what he has now. You know, he's a little longer in the tooth. He didn't fire this year at Charlestown. So, but I think he still made about $250,000 this year, not running in top spots. So we'll see plenty more of him next year, I'm sure.
Yeah, again, a very good claim. All right, let's take a look out at some of the stakes action for this weekend. We're going to go through the Clark tonight, which I think is the highlight, certainly of today, maybe of the weekend, in conjunction with the Cigar Mile. Those are the two that are certainly going to attract a lot of attention. There's some nice grass stakes, of course, out at Hollywood Park. It is a big stakes weekend, but certainly today's action is highlighted by the Clark. That will be post time at about 5:35 down at Churchill Downs. Grade 1 event, $500,000 purse. They're going to go 1 1/8 miles. Going to be highlighted by Game On Dude and Will Take Charge, with some eclipse implications floating out there for both of those horses. I'm going to pull up a video here going back to what I think was essentially the coming out party almost of Will Take Charge, the turnaround late in the year for this horse. The Travers right up here at Saratoga. We're going to watch Will Take Charge run down Marino. Marino, who was out there looking at about the 8th pole like he had this in the bag, but a nice come-from-behind effort by Will Take Charge. As I said, came from that effort to a nice win again over Marino in the Pennsylvania Derby, and then that just-miss effort in the Breeders' Cup Classic. So for me, this was kind of where Will Take Charge turned it around and said, I'm trying to grab a 3-year-old Eclipse Award, and a win tonight will certainly get him that. I think a pretty good performance tonight is going to be all he probably needs, because that 3-year-old division has fallen apart maybe a little bit late in the year, at least as far as coming up with an Eclipse. I used Will Take Charge on top in the Clark. Game On Dude might have a pace advantage. He may be able to get out there, get to the lead, and just not be challenged. I'm just a little dicey on Game On Dude, coming off of the bad performance in the Breeders' Cup. Now, he did that last year and then came back in the Native Diver and was very convincing. So I couldn't leave Game On Dude totally out of the mix, but I just think in the form that Will Take Charge is in right now, he looks very, very interesting to me. So I put him on top, Game On Dude second, and then Bourbon Courage, who was third in this race last year, I think is kind of interesting as well, as is Golden Ticket, who is another 4-year-old now, but another horse that seems to have gotten good at this point in the season. So for me, I have Will Take Charge, Game On Dude, Bourbon Courage, and Golden Ticket.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more about Will Take Charge. And I think this race this weekend especially, it encompasses a lot what we're going to see this weekend about Breeders' Cup horses coming back, and some horses that want to be here and some horses that didn't necessarily think they were going to be here. Game On Dude is the perfect example. If he won at Santa Anita, there's just no way he's going to be in this race today. So now it's kind of like plan B. Let's try to maybe take the Eclipse Award back, maybe from Wise Dan, the Horse of the Year Award, excuse me. I just don't buy him. He's kind of a fraud. He doesn't ship all that well. I know he won at Charlestown this year, but this is a different race to me. And Will Take Charge. He's the now horse ever since blinkers came off. 4 starts back. Every race has been good. To me, he was much the best in the Breeders' Cup. He got shuffled around on the far turn. He got pushed wide, and he misses in a head bob, and just a super performance. And he's kind of turning into that old D. Wayne Lucas war horse that just shows up every 3 weeks, maybe a cat thief Serena Song kind of horse. Not as good as them yet, at least, but I really just think he's the now horse, and he gets a few pounds from Game on Duty. Might get pace is an issue, but again, Game on Duty is probably going to be under pressure from the rail. So I do like Will Take Charge a lot here. Second, I went with a little bit of a price underneath, Easter Gift. He's a 2-turn horse. I think he can throw out the Kelso last time. He wants to be outside. He should be passing horses late. He gets some weight as well, and I like Bourbon Courage as well underneath. I'm going to toss Game on Dude. If he wins, golf clap to him, and I probably will vote him Horse of the Year because, if to win a big Grade 1 like this outside of his native California, but he's got to prove it to me, and on the grand stage, beating Clubhouse Ride and those kind of horses, they're not in here today, so I think he's up against it.
So win here would make him Horse of the Year for you?
I think so. I haven't.
I think older male, I definitely think he grabs. Horse of the Year, I'll be interested to see where the voters go.
Yeah, I have the utmost respect for Wise Dan. I wasn't crazy about his campaign, running in the same races again, things like that. So if Game on Dude can ship after the Breeders' Cup, win an important Grade 1 against a Grade 1 horse like Will Take Charge, to me it would probably swing it tepidly into his favor, but I don't want to commit to that just yet.
And that's a great point, though, because everybody had not everybody. It seemed like a majority of people had those same trepidations about Wise Dan until things shook out the way they did in the Breeders' Cup. So a win here, would they then feel like, oh, now I got an excuse to tilt back? So that'll be interesting to see if Game on Dude does wind up with a win this afternoon down at Churchill Downs. All right, we'll take our first break of the half hour. Again, this is an abbreviated edition because of the early post time at Aqueduct. But when we come back, look at some of those nice stakes races down at Aqueduct for Saturday. Stay tuned.
I'm Mark Cassano. Join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch. We'll inform, analyze, and welcome in the biggest names in racing. So join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch, right here on the OTB Television Network.
Hey race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
Wagering at CapitalOTBBet.com is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Capital Bet TV, the fastest and easiest online wagering experience where you can monitor 5 different tracks simultaneously. 2. Capital Bet Express. Its straightforward program layout and interactive handicapping information lets you build your wager quickly and efficiently. And 3. Capital Bet Pro, designed especially for the professional horse player. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
The Capital OTB Handicapping Challenge Series is back. That's right, the 2013 Capital OTB Handicapping Challenge Series is back, and it's your chance to win thousands in cash and prizes, and a seat at the 2014 National Handicapping Championship in Las Vegas. This month, the Capital Cup on December 7th. So sign up today online at CapitalOTB.com or stop in at the Clubhouse Racebook. And don't forget our Showviber series, Capital OTB's online handicapping contest.
I'm Anthony Mormino. Join me weekdays at 9 for the Handicappers Report. We'll handicap the top tracks across the country and help you prepare for the day in racing. That's the Handicappers Report, weekdays at 9, only on the OTB TV network.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. Again, this is an abbreviated edition, day after Thanksgiving. Hopefully everybody had a nice holiday and enjoyed the turkey yesterday, maybe made a little money at the races. We looked at a couple of stakes from yesterday. Now we're looking ahead to the nice stakes weekend. We'll start things out with what will be the highlight. Again, the highlight for today is certainly going to be the Clark, but tomorrow I think is going to be the Cigar Mile, which is shaping up to be a very special race. I think part of it was the fact that they tossed in that bonus money, which makes it very, very attractive to some of these horses coming out of the Breeders' Cup. So it is a loaded field, highlighted by the return of Groupie Doll. It looked like she was headed to the sidelines to end her career when she went to auction, but the new owner said, no, we'll go back for one more race. Golden Sense, perhaps chasing a potential Eclipse Award. Verrazano, who is still searching to validate that Haskell victory. I pulled up some video from last year's Cigar Mile. We will watch the stretch run where Stay Thirsty will just get up to nip Groupie Doll. Now, Groupie Doll is going to attract a lot of attention on Saturday, tomorrow. I think, as I say, we're going to watch Stay Thirsty just catch Groupie Doll here. Stay Thirsty, the number 1, Groupie Doll, the number 7 in this 2012 edition of the Cigar Mile. I think this edition is much tougher. I have Groupie Doll in my mix, but underneath, I think Golden Sense, coming out of that Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, is in very good form. I put that one on top. 40 tails off of the last race, the Bold Ruler. Nice 106 buyer figure. Again, it just seems like maybe this horse is in some pretty good form right now for Todd Pletcher. Put that one underneath. Groupie Doll in the 3rd spot. And then flat out, threw in a dud in the Breeders' Cup Classic, but it just, Southern California. I'm going to forgive that one. I'm going to kind of draw a line through that. I think flat out prior to that was in very, very good form. Good enough form to certainly be in the hunt here. But I think Golden Sense, again, coming out of the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, is going to be the top pick for me.
Yeah, I'm going to play against him, and it goes back to that Breeders' Cup thing. He wouldn't be here, I don't think, if he didn't win the Dirt Mile. And now he's shipping across country. He's coming from California over here to New York. I think it's asking a lot, especially off such a freakish performance in the Breeders' Cup. I'm going to go with Clearly Now, who might be the Now horse. He added blinkers last time, and he took off at Belmont, and he beat 40 Tails, who you mentioned. I think he's coming up to the race in the right spot, and I think he catches some of those Breeders' Cup horses, Golden Sense especially, Groupie Doll as well, who I picked 2nd in here, and it's a shame just watching that replay. I don't even know how she lost that race last year. It's a real shame. Verrazano, I'm going to just throw right out. He's a horse to me that when everything goes his way, he runs a big race. If one thing doesn't go his way, he just doesn't feel like firing. And again, I keep hitting at it, but this is a horse that was going to be retired after the Breeders' Cup. If he had run well or won the Dirt Mile, he was off to Coolmar, off to the breeding shed. Now all of a sudden he's back here 4 weeks later. Well, we'll try to win one more big race with him. It kind of reeks of something a little fishy to me. So he's going to have to prove it to me. I went Clearly Now over Groupie Doll. Flat out, no problems with him, but he's a Belmont horse to me. So I'm going to try to beat him. And a horse I like a little bit underneath is Laugh Track, who I thought ran really big in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. That was his only start on dirt going 1 turn. So he's going to like the added ground. He might get some pace in here. Look for him maybe to be coming at the end at a big price.
Very good. And everyone you mentioned, I had kind of up in my mix as horses to consider too, but that's the kind of race it is.
Well, it is. You could go any number of different ways in there. Yeah, I would say try to demand some value too, especially because on paper, a horse like Golden Sense, he's a deserving favorite, or Groupie Doll, they're not that much faster than anyone else in the race.
Yeah, it should be a fun addition to the Cigar Mile. Looking forward to that. Also on the card tomorrow at Aqueduct, another race with potentially some eclipse implications. I think if Honor Code gets up there, certainly that's going to help this one get some 2-year-old votes. I just have a tough time thinking of pulling the trigger on New Year's Day. The Breeders' Cup Juvenile is going to take a lot of attention from voters, but a couple of maiden races in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, I don't know. But would this be enough for Honor Code? We'll see. But Honor Code comes in here, and for me, Honor Code is going to be the horse to beat. We're going to watch the Champagne from October 5th, where Honor Code is going to make a late run and just miss catching Havana coming down the stretch in that Champagne. Subsequently, Havana, a nice effort in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile himself, which kind of flattered Honor Code. I think Honor Code at 9-5 on the warning line is going to justify that price. I have Honor Code on top. Number 9, Cairo Prince in second, comes off of the nice win in the Nashua, which made this one 2 for 2 for Kieran McLaughlin. I think Cairo Prince is going to be a nice 2-year-old and should be interesting moving into the 3-year-old season. And then Noble Moon in the 3rd spot. This is a horse with only a couple of starts under the belt. Finished 3rd behind Cairo Prince last time out, but that was only the 2nd start. Nice closing effort. This may be one that still has some upside potential. So for me, it's Honor Code, Cairo Prince, and Noble Moon in the Remsen tomorrow.
Same 3 for me, Seth, just in a little different order. Honor Code, his talent is tremendous, but I think his reputation, he's going to win the Triple Crown next year, apparently. I mean, this horse he's 10-1 in Vegas right now. You know, he's won nothing but a 7-furlong maiden race in the slop. And he's a horse he's trying 2 turns tomorrow for the first time. I think he's probably going to be about 3-5 on the line, maybe. I mean, this horse is going to get bet off the board. And he leaves himself with a lot to do in his races. And that's tough to do when you're spotting 6 or 8 lengths to good soon-to-be 3-year-olds. A horse like Cairo Prince, who ran off last time, he's much more tactical than Honor Code. And I just think it's asking a lot at a short price, especially trying 2 turns for the first time. So I'm going to try to beat him. I picked Cairo Prince second because the post going 9 furlongs in these 2-turn races at Aqueduct, that's a real bad post for him. I like Noble Moon a lot in here. He blew the start last time of the Withers. I think in his maiden race he wired the field. I think he's loose here tomorrow with a good break, and I don't see a lot of speed in this race, which is also going to play against Honor Code. So I like Noble Moon kind of a lot in here, especially maybe just to set a moderate to leisurely pace and kick clear off the far turn.
And there's no question, going from a maiden into the graded stakes in the Nashua, it just meant to get some good education there to benefit from and move forward. I have no arguments with that at all. All right, the Demoiselle also tomorrow, the 2-year-old fillies. Pulled up some video here of the Tempted last time out. The Tempted was won, and won very easily, by Stop Charging Maria. Todd Pletcher and Mike Rapoli, as you might have guessed from the name. I'm going with Stop Charging Maria, 8-5 on the morning line, and I just think off of that Tempted. And this is a horse that has some nice experience so far, including graded stakes experience, which includes that Grade 3 Tempted last time. I just think looking at the rest of the field. Now, some of these are lightly raced, are eligible to step up, but I think Stop Charging Maria is going to be the one to beat. Again, the nice winner in the Tempted stretch run that we'll watch. One Got Lucky I have in the second spot. The other Todd Pletcher horse, this one only 1 career start, still a maiden, but I think got some good education in the career debut. And then Penwith in the 3rd spot for me. It's McLaughlin, it's Darley. This is a horse that benefited from the career debut, improved in the 2nd start, stretching out to a mile. And again, I think some of these horses are lightly raced, and we still haven't seen the ceiling for them. So Got Lucky and Penwith, I'm looking for perhaps some improvement in the 2nd and 3rd career starts for both of those horses. So in the Demoiselle, I have it Stop Charging Maria, Got Lucky, and Penwith.
Same 3 for me again, Seth, just a little different order. I picked Got Lucky on top. I think it's a pretty interesting move that Todd runs this horse after 1 race as a maiden. She's bred to love 2 turns. She drew perfectly. So to me, I think she has the biggest upside. And Penwith is a horse, too, that's bred to be a real monster. She's out of Composure, who is a serious Grade 1 winning 3-year-old filly. Stop Charging Maria, she's fine. She's going to be about 3-5. It was kind of weird. She won by over 10 lengths last time. She wasn't all that. It didn't really impress me that much. I mean, she ran slow early and kind of slow late. So I don't know if she's going to relish 9 furlongs in 2 turns. So I'll try to pull the mild surprise with Got Lucky and go from there.
Yeah, and you can't argue with the old angle of the other half of the
other Pletcher,
uncoupled entry,
absolutely,
which we've seen time and again get it done. All right, and finally, just got a couple of minutes left here, but we'll take a look at the Cumley tomorrow. A Grade 3 for 3-year-old fillies going a mile and an eighth for a $400,000 purse. I have some video here of Wedding Toast getting it done in the Belle Cherie on October 25th. Wedding Toast is in here and gets in my mix, but I took a little shot with Marathon Lady, and I'm taking a shot because I find this one interesting. Comes up having run at Remington Park and the Remington Park Oaks most recently. That was at the end of September, and again, we're seeing Wedding Toast win the Belle Cherie here on the screen. As I say, I have that one in the mix. But Marathon Lady is interesting to me. I think you go back, Saratoga and the Coaching Club American Oaks, a nice 90 buyer figure. I also find it interesting that Mike Smith is getting on board. And I think he's so smart and so crafty. I think he may move up Marathon Lady a little bit. So Smith actually attracted some attention for me. Wedding Toast in the 2nd spot for McLaughlin and Godolphin runs very nicely. And then My Happy Face, who I think is going to be interesting. Both of those have some speed, though, which may set it up for Marathon Lady. Yeah,
I couldn't beat Wedding Toast in here. I really think going into 2014, she's going to be a real upper echelon Grade 1 filly, and I think this kick starts that. She's already won at a 2-turn mile and an eighth. I don't see a lot of quality in here. I use the same horses as you did, Seth. I just don't think Wedding Toast it can lose in this spot. I didn't see a lot of quality, and I think she's a serious Grade 1 kind of a filly.
Very good. All right. A special edition of Racing Across America over this Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. Brian Nadeau from HorsePlayerNow.com live in the studio. Thanks again, Brian.
Yeah, Seth, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure to be here.
Happy to do it. All right, that'll wrap things up. Racing Across America every Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Have a great holiday weekend. Enjoy the racing because there's lots of great stakes action coast to coast. Hopefully we gave you some good thoughts for today and tomorrow. Again, Racing Across America Monday through Friday. We'll see you next Monday.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.